Some men are made to go with the grain, and others are saws that cut the entire board in half. Well, Thomas Sowell is one such saw, particularly in his analysis of the dismal science that sort of thwarts the dreams of social justice warriors. Thomas Sowell may be someone that you can easily disagree with at times, but even then, he is often worth reading, and that is exactly what we will be doing today. So today we'll be looking at his seminal text, Basic Economics. Chapter 1. What is economics? Economics is fundamentally about the allocation of scarce resources with alternative uses. Sowell emphasizes the importance of choices and trade-offs, introducing the concept of opportunity cost, the cost of foregoing the next best alternative when making decisions. Scarcity forces individuals and societies to make decisions which inherently involve trade-offs. Chapter 2 is the role of prices. Prices are crucial in an economy, acting as signals to both buyers and sellers. They convey information about supply and demand, providing incentives for consumers to conserve resources and for producers to increase supply when prices rise. Prices facilitate efficient resource allocation, directing resources to their most valued uses. Chapter 3, Price Controls. Government interventions such as price ceilings, rent controls, and price floors, minimum wages, disrupt the natural functioning of markets. Price ceilings can lead to shortages, while price floors can create surpluses. Sowell highlights the unintended consequences of such controls, including the emergence of black markets and a decline in the quality of goods and services. Chapter 4, an overview of prices. Market prices are determined by an interaction of supply and demand. Price elasticity measures how quantity demanded or supplied responds to price changes. Competition allows the market to approach equilibrium and efficient pricing. Chapter 5, the rise and fall of businesses. Businesses are dynamic entities that grow, compete, and sometimes fail due to changing market conditions. Creative destruction is where new innovations replace outdated businesses and technologies. Entrepreneurs are vital in driving this process, fostering economic growth and innovation. Chapter 6, profit and loss. Profit incentivizes businesses to produce efficiently and innovate, while losses signal them to exit unprofitable markets. This process reallocates resources to more productive uses. Risk and reward also direct investment. Chapter 7, Big Business and Government. Big businesses often actually benefit from regulation because the economy of scale of big businesses allows them to get past regulation, where it is too costly for small firms to enter the market. Antitrust laws can in theory stop monopolies, which is good because we want competition, but instead, they often just stop businesses that people prefer over others because they are out competing. Chapter 8, Productivity and Pay. Wages are determined by productivity, supply and demand, and human capital. Education, skills, and experience are crucial in determining individual productivity and earnings. Though labor in developing countries may be cheaper, their lack of technology and often poor education systems can mean that productivity is actually lower than developed countries. Chapter 9, Minimum Wage Laws. Minimum wage laws, when set above market equilibrium, can lead to unemployment and reduced job opportunities, particularly for low-skilled workers. Thomas Sowell views income tax credits, specifically the Earned Income Tax Credit, EITC, as a potentially effective alternative to minimum wage laws for helping low-income workers. He argues that income tax credits can provide targeted financial assistance to those in need without the adverse effects of minimum wage increases. Chapter 10, Special Problems in Labor Markets. Though Thomas does acknowledge the role that labor unions have played in improving working conditions, wages, and benefits for workers, particularly during the early 20th century, he also recognizes that they play a role in stifling competition and innovation, and that they play a role in discrimination because of the inflated wage rates, which keep unskilled workers out of the market. Chapter 11, Investment and Speculation. Financial markets provide a mechanism for individuals and institutions to invest their savings in various financial instruments such as stocks, bonds, and other securities. These markets facilitate the flow of capital from savers, investors, to borrowers, businesses, and governments seeking funds for investment. Investment decisions are crucial for economic growth as they direct resources towards productive uses that can generate future income and wealth. Speculation involves making bets on the future price movements of financial assets, such as stocks or commodities, with the aim of earning profits. While speculation can add liquidity and efficiency to markets by absorbing excess risk, Sowell cautions that excessive speculation can also lead to market volatility and instability. Markets need transparent regulations and oversight to prevent fraud, manipulation, and excessive risk-taking that could destabilize markets and harm investors and the broader economy. Chapter 12: Risks and Insurance. Risk refers to the uncertainty surrounding future outcomes, where the actual results may differ from expected outcomes. By paying premiums, individuals or businesses can protect themselves against financial losses resulting from unforeseen events. Insurance allows for the pooling of risks across a large number of policyholders, thereby spreading the financial impact of losses. By reducing the financial uncertainty associated with potential losses, insurance encourages economic activity, investment, and entrepreneurship. Additionally, it provides financial security and peace of mind to individuals and families, enhancing overall welfare. Chapter 13: National Output. Economic growth is driven by factors such as capital formation, technology, and labor force participation. GDP measures the total market value of all final goods and services produced within a country's borders in a given period, usually annually. It serves as a key indicator of a nation's economic health and performance. Increasing productivity through technological advancements and efficient resource allocation is critical for sustained economic growth and rising living standards. Chapter 15: Government Functions. Governments provide public goods and address market failures. Public goods are goods or services that are non-excludable and non-rivalrous in consumption. These goods, such as national defense or public parks, are typically provided by governments because private markets may underprovide them due to the free rider problem, where individuals can benefit without paying. Some costs can be externalized to third parties, such as in the form of polluted air that a corporation doesn't feel the cost of. In these situations, sometimes regulations can be good to put the cost on the firm that is creating it. Too much regulation, however, can stifle innovation and make it hard for competition in the market. In a similar way, too much tax incentivizes stagnation. Chapter 16: International Trade. International trade is driven by the principles of comparative advantage and the benefits of free trade. Comparative advantage states that countries should specialize in producing goods and services where they have lower opportunity costs compared to other nations. This specialization allows countries to trade surplus goods for products they cannot efficiently produce themselves. Free trade allows countries to have more consumption possibilities than they would otherwise, and at lower prices. Tariffs and regulations provide barriers to free trade. Trade agreements reduce trade barriers and promote economic growth for all parties. Chapter 17: International Transfers of Wealth. This chapter discusses the impact of foreign aid on recipient countries and its effectiveness in promoting development. Foreign aid is often well-intended, but he also critiques the effectiveness of traditional foreign aid programs, arguing that they often fail to achieve sustainable economic growth in recipient countries due to issues such as corruption, misallocation of resources, and dependency on aid. Remittances can contribute significantly to the economies of developing countries, providing essential income streams that support household consumption, investment in education and healthcare, and local economic development. Foreign investment can stimulate economic growth by bringing in capital, technology, management expertise, and access to global markets, but it can also exploit local resources, have environmental impacts, and multinational corporations can have negative influences on local economies. Chapter 18: International Disparities in Wealth. Global inequality is driven by various factors, including institutions, governance, and economic policies. With proper laws, education, and policies in place, most economies thrive. Countries that become reliant on aid and exports tend not to fare so well. Chapter 19: The Economics of Housing. Housing markets are influenced by factors such as supply and demand, zoning laws, and rent control. In competitive markets, prices adjust based on the balance between supply and demand. Constraints on supply, such as restricting zoning laws or high construction costs, can lead to higher housing prices, affecting affordability for buyers. He critiques rent control policies, arguing that while they aim to make housing more affordable, they often lead to unintended consequences, such as reduced housing supply, deteriorating housing quality, and inequalities in access. He also argues that while regulations serve important purposes, such as safety and environmental protection, they can also restrict housing supply and increase costs, thereby affecting affordability and market efficiency. Chapter 20: The Economics of Medical Care. The healthcare sector faces unique economic challenges, including insurance, costs, and access to care. Unlike many other goods and services, healthcare involves asymmetric information between patients and providers, uncertainty about outcomes, and a high degree of government intervention and regulation. Factors such as technological advancements, third-party payment systems, and moral hazards, where individuals may use more healthcare services because they're insulated from full costs, contribute to rising prices. Insurance works to protect individuals from catastrophic healthcare costs, but also examines how it can distort price signals and incentivize overconsumption of healthcare services. He argues that aligning incentives, reducing regulatory barriers, and promoting competition among providers can lead to better outcomes and lower costs for patients. Chapter 21: The Economics of Discrimination. Discrimination in the labor market has significant economic impacts. He argues that while discrimination based on race, gender, or other factors is morally reprehensible, understanding its economic roots is essential for devising effective solutions. Biases of employers can lead to suboptimal choices of candidates. When individuals are denied opportunities based on discriminatory grounds, both the affected individuals and society as a whole may suffer from reduced output and innovation. Market forces can mitigate discriminatory practices over time. He explains that businesses operating in competitive markets have incentives to hire and promote based on merit rather than non-economic criteria. While acknowledging that government policies have played a role in combating discrimination through legislation such as the civil rights laws, Sowell also discusses potential unintended consequences of government intervention. He highlights instances where well-intentioned regulations may inadvertently perpetuate or exacerbate discriminatory practices. Chapter 22: Public Opinion and the Media. Public opinion and media coverage shapes economic policies and perceptions. He argues that media outlets often simplify complex economic topics, leading to misconceptions among the general public. This simplification can affect public support for various economic policies proposed by governments or advocated by interest groups. This leads to many economic misconceptions which in turn shape public policy. A more informed populace makes for a better public policy. Thank you so much for watching. I will link in the description a critique of Thomas Sowell's writing. It's obscenely long by a channel called Unlearning Economics, but if you do want to watch it, you can check that out. Also, please head to my website, westernrenaissance.com, where you can find a written version of this video as well as some of my other writings and more. Thanks again.